programs that might be delivered to the community at large. So there's a number of things that we need to be thinking about all the time. But again, those are your customers. So I think whether it's a member, whether it's a stakeholder, whether it's a literal customer or a consumer of some of the products or services that you offer.
Right, so we need to find out like what problem like each stakeholder is coming to solve, and are we able to actually solve the problem for them for a reasonable fee or not?
Well, and there's a reason why they came to us.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to be very focused on our discovery questions, on our needs analysis, and really figure out, we talk about member needs surveys. Well, there's also sponsor needs surveys and stakeholder needs surveys, right? Because they're all our customers. They're all people that we serve in some capacity. So understanding what's most important to them, what their challenges are, what they hope to achieve, and how we can help them is critical.
Hi, welcome to the Grype podcast. In this podcast, you learn how to grow member-based organizations. I'm your host, Farhad Khan. I am the CEO of Grype Digital. We build membership websites for professional associations, and our product, Member Lounge, is one of the quickest ways for you to build an engaging membership website for your membership. With Member Lounge, member marketing gets on autopilot, so member engagement just happens without you thinking too hard about it. You can book a free demo of Member Lounge on our website at memberlounge.ca. Again, that's memberlounge, all one word, .ca. This is a live recording of our podcast episode with a live audience. If you're joining us live today, welcome. It's great to have you on our show, and that too so late in the day. We got some amazing questions from the audience already. If you have any more questions during the episode, please submit them on chat and we will get to them as soon as we can. Today, we are excited to have Tom Abbott with us. Tom is the CEO of AMC NPO Solutions. He's a serial entrepreneur, he's an author, and he's also a speaker. Tom has been working with associations for a very long time. Tom, thank you so much for being with us today. Can you start by telling us a bit about yourself and your work?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Farhad. Great to be here. I'm really excited about this topic. It's one that is especially relevant for NPOs today, I think now more than ever. Yes, again, my name is Tom Abbott. I'm the CEO of AMC NPO Solutions. My father, in fact, started this company back in 1987. So my gosh. And I started working with him when I was 15 years old. You can probably tell from a little bit of gray on the sides that I've been around a long time. So in that time, we've been working with nonprofit organizations across Canada and, in fact, across the world, and helping them with regards to strategic planning as well as governance. So these are two of the key areas that we work with NPOs to really help their boards work together more collaboratively, cooperatively, and creatively.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Tom, as associations, we always think that like we are maintaining customer focus, we are working for members like all the time, right? And when we say customer focus, like I kind of like mean like members, sponsors, and partners alike. Now, what goes wrong? Like, why do we think that we have such a good customer focus, but in reality we don't?
Well, that's a great question. I think there's two parts to that, Farhad. So number one, I feel as though associations just get busy. I mean, I'm also a board chair. I've served as a CEO ED on several boards for some associations. So I know what it's like to work within a not-for-profit organization. And let's just be honest, everybody here who's joining us is busy. They're wearing multiple hats. There's a lot going on. So while we talk about being customer-centric and customer-focused, the reality is a lot of us are just really focused on getting through the day. We're just trying to get through that to-do list. There are so many things operationally that need to get done, and it's very easy to lose focus. Now, the second part is quite often organizations don't always see their members as customers. They're really customers. They're really consumers of their products and services. And we're there, and I say we, the royal we as associations, we're there to serve the members. They're our customer. Without them, there's no association. Without them, we have no reason for being. So we lose sight of that sometimes, and it's really important for us to regain that focus, get back on track, and I think some of the things we're going to talk about here today will help associations do exactly that.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So associations are very busy, membership managers are busy, and store executives. How do we find the time, number one, to kind of like get the customer focus back? And like, are there any key elements of customer focus that we should be like maintaining?
Well, I think it all starts with making customers the priority, realizing that they're number one, that your members are the be all and end all of any society. So once you've got that mindset, I think that's the first step. Then you want to start thinking about, well, how do we actually bring that to life? How do we actually create this culture within our organizations where we do put customers first? And there's a number of ways that we can do that, but it really starts with that mindset and then putting some things into place. So for example, when boards have strategic planning sessions, we always want to make sure that that strat planning session is not just for the board to chart the course for the next 1, 3, 5 years, but it's really, what do we see as the future of the association? What do we see as the future of the industry? What do we see as the future of the people we serve? What are the challenges they face as members? Not that we face as a board, but that our members face as individuals and as a group collectively. So we need to be really thinking in terms of what's most important to the members, our customers, and things like surveys, getting out on the ground and actually speaking to members, finding out what's most important to them. But just really having this customer-centric approach, I think, is a great start.
Right. I guess like you're saying, we should actually have an outside-in approach, like as opposed to inside out. So understand like what members need, what their challenges are, like what they can't get like anywhere else, and then maybe like start from there, right?
Well, absolutely. So there's a couple of things that you mentioned there that I think are great. So number one, definitely have an outside-in approach. So what does that really look like? Well, and I've served on boards that can sometimes be quite insular. Sometimes people are in silos, and we start thinking, okay, what do we want to do as a board? Or chairs and presidents, what's my vision for the next year? What's my vision for my term? What do I want to be known for? What will my legacy be? And it's like, well, wait a minute. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about us. It's about us collectively. It's about the organization. So we start from an outside-in approach. Now, when organizations engage us to facilitate them with strategic planning sessions, it's not just the session. The session is just the 1-2 day event. But what's that experience, that collective experience where, for example, we'll do 360-degree assessments. We'll talk with a number of people on the board, key staff members. We'll talk to members of the association, find out what are their most urgent pressing needs. What do they see as the priorities in their organizations, their business, if it happens to be a business association, or their personal lives, if it's a common interest group, for example, or a charity. But really, what's important to the members, the stakeholders? They're the ones that have the biggest stake in the organization. So we need to hear from them first, from the ground up, from the bottom up, from outside in.
What about the sponsors and partners?
Well, we've got to hear from them as well because they're part of the stakeholder group. So we need to hear from everybody that has a stake in the organization. There's no way that we can make decisions just based on who's in the room. And that's where we get this kind of board think that happens quite often in organizations, where we think that we're the smartest people in the organization and we're there to serve, we're there to lead. But my gosh, we really have to take the time to get input, consultation from a number of key stakeholders. And that could be sponsors, that could be a number of different people.
Right. Oftentimes we actually see our clients go out and like do some customer interviews, or they actually like will probably run a survey or something, but it's oftentimes a one-off thing. It's done, you get some information and then you're done, and then like it doesn't get done maybe for another year or so. But like we believe that like this customer feedback should be collected like on an ongoing basis all the time. Like if you can like build it in the association, day to day somehow, like that is ideal, right? So do you have any like recommendation on how that can happen?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of ways to do that, and certainly having like a member portal, I think, is a great start, right? I mean, if you've got a member portal, something that is there that's kind of that common focal point for members to connect and to collaborate and to interact with each other, I think that's a great start. But again, when we're looking at member surveys, quite often now, if you're an association out there that does not conduct at least an annual member survey, start now. Okay, get going. At least start that process. All right, that's number one. Number two, if you are an association that does conduct an annual member needs survey, why only annually? This should be an ongoing thing. So you want to have feedback input as part of your DNA of your organization, where every time you're sending out a newsletter, there's a section in there that's like, hey, we want your feedback. Your comments are welcome. You want to get input from people. You want to be sending out member surveys on a regular basis, checking with people, as I said in the newsletter, at your member events. Have opportunities either for people to use their phone to actually give some feedback on how was the event and what else should we be doing as an organization. You also want to be sitting down with people because not everybody is technically inclined. Some people really want to sit down and have the face-to-face interaction. So sit around a small table, a group, and talk to people. Do a new member orientation. Also engage some of the senior people and get their input. So for example, I'm a member of a professional speakers association. And one of the things that we do very well at our association is to connect with founding members and certified speaking professionals such as myself. There's only a small group of us CSPs that are members of the association, as well as past presidents. So I'm part of that group as well. Sometimes I'm known as a pest president, but let's just leave it at that. But past presidents. So what we do very well in the association is the president will engage with the founding members, the CSPs, and the past presidents to get their input. We're also part of a WhatsApp group so that we can collaborate with each other and have a direct line of communication to the chair and the vice chair or chair-elect, as we call them. So you've got to have all these channels and arteries and roads for feedback to happen within the organization. You can do the same thing with new members as well. Also looking at mentoring programs, I think, are a really great option as well. So mentoring programs are great for a couple of reasons. One, you have senior members that can mentor some of the newer members of the association, but it's also a great opportunity for those senior members to get input from the newer members. Hey, why did you join? What do you love about the association? What could be a little bit better? And things that we call like reverse mentoring, where you can have a senior person actually mentored by a younger person, because guess what? We can learn a lot from younger people. So same thing. You could have those senior members giving feedback to the younger members around what do they love about the association and what could be better, what could be improved. And this all has to be fed back to key leadership. So there's so many things we can do. And like I said earlier about member portals, to me, this needs to be a given. There needs to be a platform, especially in this day and age. There needs to be a one-stop shop, a central meeting place online where members can go, not just board members. So some boards out there have board portals, which is great. Yeah. We need that. That's awesome. And that's been around for some time, but not everybody has adopted that yet. But you want to have board portals where board members can get their minutes, bylaws, any policy documents are there. Whatever they need, it's a one-stop shop where they can get all the information that they require, have that for board members, but also you want to have a member portal where members can collaborate. I'll say more about that later because I'm a member of a number of such portals.
Sure. Sounds good. I'm hearing a pattern here, Tom. I think like you're asking to collect the member feedback like in the moment, like when we have their attention, like you mentioned an event. So if someone came to an event, like capitalize on their attention at that point in time, because believe it or not, surveys are boring, right? If you just send out an email with a survey, I don't think anyone will even open the email. But like if you already have their attention, like they're at an event, right, and then you send out a quick survey, they're there for you, so they're more likely to kind of like complete it. Like if you're in a mentorship meeting, you're there, so again, like ask a few questions, you'll get the answer. Same with the newsletter. So if you're already reading the newsletter, you're towards the end, right? Like then it's one more click and you'll be able to kind of respond, right?
Well, and it has to be right there in the moment for a couple of reasons. It has to be right there in the moment. One, so that you actually capture their attention. Because if you try to send out a survey after an event, I'm sorry, I've moved on to something else. This has now gone from top priority to lowest priority. So you've got to get them right then and there in the moment. That's number one. Number two, you got to make it easy for people. You've got to make it super easy to collect this data. So I'm a member of another such organization, a group where after each of our sessions like this, right on the screen, there'll be a survey, boom, that just pops up right on the screen. So it's like I can't even leave yet, right? So while you're still there and you're still in the moment and you're still feeling it and you still got these thoughts and ideas in your head, you immediately complete just that very short survey. And it's important to do it in the moment because there also needs to be context. So context is really important for any survey, and to allow people opportunities to ask questions, put their hand up, get a little bit more background information as to, well, what did you mean by that, and to actually have a discussion about that. But I think that's really key. One last thing that I want to touch on before we move on, we can always circle back, is, garbage in, garbage out. If we're just asking information for the sake of asking information, but not actionable information, well, then what's the point? So I believe that less is more. What's the key? What are the key things that you want to get? What data specifically are you looking for? So rather than planning one large annual member needs survey, can you break that down into maybe 12 micro surveys that are just focused on specific topics throughout the year? Just something very small, easily digestible, that is laser focused on a particular topic or key area of focus. And you're going to get your response rate higher. You'll get people right there in that headspace in that moment. And I think that can be more effective. And you can try to time those surveys with key initiatives that the association might be launching.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And Tom, like something that we do that works pretty well for our organization as well. So we don't send out any surveys like at all, right? But we kind of like gather the information like kind of like by osmosis, right? So what we do is that like every single time someone signs up for any of our events, we ask them one question. So what is the one thing you want to learn about like from this event, or one question like that? There's only one question every event, right? And like,
Yes.
believe it or not, we have like thousands of questions like in our bank right now, right? So when we have to kind of like create a new event, we can just like go back and look at that. Now we have too much information. What do we do with it? So
So that's the key. So I love this. One of my favorite questions that we ask before most sessions is, what's the number one challenge you're facing, question you want answered, or topic you want covered in the session or in the program? You just make it very broad. It's one key question and it's open-ended. And wow, if we sit back, we'll be amazed at what we get. But again, when we ask those questions, we have to then take action. And this is where a lot of boards struggle. They'll do the initiative, for example, to do the member needs survey or to have a strategic planning session, but then that information just gets put on the shelf.
yeah,
Collecting dust. Okay. So what we need to do is to take that off, blow off the dust, and actually say, well, so what are we going to do with this data? Because there's nothing more frustrating, and I've been in this situation where I've been a member of organizations that have asked for my input, and they have A, done nothing with it, and B, never even mentioned it afterwards. Like, what's the report? Like, what's the status of this, and what are you going to do with this? So it's really important to do that. Just kind of close that loop and to take action and to let your stakeholders know that we heard you and we're doing something with this.
right. So Tom, let me ask you that. What do you do with it?
Well, the first thing you do is you've got to come up with an action plan to put something into place. So once you've got this data, once you've got this information, well, now you need to sift through it. So again, if you asked an open-ended question, like what's the number one challenge you're facing, question you want answered, or topic you want us to address this year or this month or this quarter, well, as you said, you're going to have a whole heap of data. So with that information, you'll want to start then dividing it into different buckets. Oh, this is about recruitment retention. This is about education. This is about insurance. This is about events. This is about blah, blah, blah. So start putting it into different buckets, different topics, and then see where those might align. See where those might align with some of your key strategic goals that you have set as a board. They will either fit into some of those buckets and or give you as a board something new to think about. In fact, maybe you do that prior to your strat planning session, and now you have engaged the members to help you co-create the agenda for your strategic planning session.
Right. And oftentimes, I guess, like, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, now once you've had your strat planning meeting, you've had your strat session, Now you need to take action. So this is where a lot of boards go wrong. They go behind closed doors for 1, 2, or 3 days. They're working hard. They're getting a sweat going, and they come up with these wonderful flip charts of we're going to do this, and here's strategic goal number 1, and the 3 strategic objectives that follow those goals, and it looks great, but they haven't come up with an implementation plan. They haven't decided who is going to do what and by when. And then they just roll up the flip chart papers, put it away until next year when they look at, so what did we accomplish last year? And it's like, well, wait a minute. What happened to the action plan, the execution plan, the operational plan? So the board must work very closely with the executive director, the CEO, the chief staff officer, whatever you term them, and come up with an operational plan, an implementation plan to get it done, and make sure that that strat plan is on the agenda for every single board meeting to ensure that there's follow-up and follow-through.
Yeah, and I guess like in general, like Tom, when you have the information, when you have like your priorities like from the members, we don't always have to like create new initiatives, right? So, but like the information we have can feed our existing initiatives. So if you have like a webinar series, if you have an AGM, if you have a speaker series, if you have any event, right? We don't always have to create new events. So use the data that you have to feed into your current event to make them way better for your members.
Absolutely. So on top of everything else I do in my life, I'm also a certified coach, a professional coach through the International Coach Federation. And one of my favorite coaching models is known as the solutions focused model. And in the solutions focused model, we don't look at what's wrong, we look at what's working, we look at what's right. So to your point, we would say, okay, Farhad, we don't need to necessarily create new programs. What we can do is look at our existing programs and say, so how do we make them better? How do we improve them? And what are we doing well? What are we doing now that's working? My gosh, every time a new board comes in or a new chair or president comes in, they want to shake things up. They want to shake it up. I want to try something different. Well, what you get is a lack of continuity. What you get are a complete realignment or a complete shift of strategy, changing course almost every year or two in some organizations, and that's not healthy. What I like to see is boards working collectively towards a longer-term vision, a longer-term goal that could be 3 to 5 years. Now, of course, the way you get there can change. If we've learned anything over the last 2 or 3 years, is that things can change quickly, and you need to be able to adjust. But has your vision changed in your association? I don't think so. Has your vision statement changed? Has your mission statement changed? Has your values statement changed? Probably not. What changes are the how we're going to get there, but the what and the why remain. So you want to focus on the what and the why, and the how might change every year. But you want to create, rather than have a leader, have a leadership team. Rather than have a president, it's the office of the president, which includes the president-elect, and the past president, where collectively as a team of 3, they are charting the course for the association for the next 3 to 5 years. That's how you build some momentum. So we see this in politics as well. Whenever a new leader or a new party comes in, they completely change course. Whatever the last party did was horrible. They're evil and wrong, and we've got to do the complete opposite for the next 4 years. What? That doesn't make any sense. As a nation, as a province, as an association, we need to keep moving in the direction to achieve the vision that we all collectively as members agree upon. The how can change a little bit, but the what and the why should remain constant.
Right. So, Tom, you mentioned that the board of directors and the executive team should actually work with the overall team who are actually executing the day-to-day as well, right? So how can the C levels and the D levels and the board keep in touch, with the rest of the team? Like, is there a process?
Yes. So, to be clear, so we're the architects of the complementary model of board governance. So this is a book, a framework that my father created, and this is what we work with boards to implement this within their organizations. And the key message around the complementary model is that The board and the staff, and by staff, I mean the ED or the CEO of the organization, the chief staff officer. The board and the staff have different parts to play, but they complement each other, and together they work together as a team. So how do they do that? Well, there does have to be some division between who does what. So boards are responsible for establishing what we would call governance policies. Whereas the staff, the ED, the CEO, is responsible for establishing administrative or operational policies. They do not overlap. Where they do meet, however, is in the monitoring. So the monitoring of organizational performance is where they work together. How are we doing as an organization? Are we reaching our goals? So there are a number of monitoring mechanisms. Obviously, your financial report is a monitoring mechanism. How are we doing in terms of member revenue? How are we doing in terms of programs, etc.? So they can work together to monitor organizational effectiveness by reviewing and discussing the financial report and the budget. Also, the strategic plan. How are we moving towards achieving that goal or those goals? There's also the ED report, so the executive director report, which would include some committee reports. So these are all monitoring mechanisms, including external reports. So you might, for example, engage an external third-party consultant to perform an audit or an appraisal or an assessment of some procedure or process or policy within an organization. So there are a number of monitoring mechanisms where the board and the staff can work together collaboratively to make sure that we're all moving in the right direction.
Right. If you look at like some more levels, like in the org chart, say like the directors, and then like, not the board, like just like the directors, and then maybe the membership managers, right? So
Right.
how do they
Like
get
a director of
involved?
professional services or
Yes,
something
exactly.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do like they and the membership managers like keep in touch overall? Because like the reason I'm asking is that the membership manager is the one like who kind of or the membership coordinator. They are like in the front lines. They talk to members all the time. They know the pain. They know what's happening, right? They have to cascade the message like up to be able to like make big decisions happen.
Well, there's a few ways you can do that. Obviously, you need to have an environment where people are communicating on a consistent basis. So what does that look like? That looks like team meetings for sure. So that membership coordinator needs to obviously meet with their team if there are people under them. If it's a manager of member services or a director of member services and they have a team, if you're a larger association, make sure that that team is collaborating and working together on a regular basis so that everybody on the team knows the pulse of the membership. What's going on
Right.
with the community, right? Then be sure that they're communicating that with the other teams and the other departments in the association so that, again, people aren't working independently in silos. But the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, that every program or initiative that's being undertaken by the association is done with input from that membership team.
Right.
It's got to be
Right,
there, right? So there has to be some good communication. Now, if you're a smaller association that maybe has one or two key people and you've got one person responsible for membership, well, make sure that if you as the executive director, that you're scheduling regular one-on-ones at the very least with that person and finding out what the heck is going on, what's the pulse, what's happening out there. So for example, in the corporate world, I run two businesses, right? So I'm C-suite, I'm C-level. I do talk to customers on a regular basis, but certainly not with the frequency that, one of my sales assists or program advisors would do. So then how do I know exactly what's going on in the market and in the industry and with our customers? So I need to take time to speak to our key accounts, our key customers, but I also need to talk to my team because they have a very different perspective and they know what's going on.
Right. So I'm hearing like two activities here. Number one, the membership manager or whoever is in the front lines, they should be collecting the member pulse and they should be communicating and discussing that like with their higher ups.
Absolutely. Communication is the key. And I feel as though most organizations under communicate. Rarely have I met a team that says, you know what, we over communicate. Now, some of you might say, but Tom, we have too many meetings. Maybe you do have too many meetings and you can maybe scale them back and go, wait a minute, could this meeting be replaced by an email? Okay, so that's a fair question. Could this meeting be replaced by an email? Yes or no? But email is still communication, isn't it? So, we need to think about, am I reaching out to people enough to either get or give information? And if we can create this culture of collaboration and communication, I think that's always going to be better for any organization.
Right. And I guess like structuring the meetings a little better like helps as well. So for us, like I'm like that, like I'm in like I think 20, 25 meetings like every week. But like what we try to do is that like we kind of like created an agenda for the meetings. Like we know that like when we walk into a meeting, there's already an agenda. There are some key
Yes.
information that will be discussed that will never be missed. Right. So I think as long as we and like we shouldn't be walking into a meeting like with an open agenda and like anyone can say anything. There has to be some
Right.
structure to it so that the important things are discussed.
Absolutely. So there should be some space in meetings for the free flow of discussion
Yeah.
and something organic. And there needs to be an agenda that is predetermined and pre-circulated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It should be pre-circulated. And even before it's pre-circulated, the best way to do it, in my experience, is to actually elicit agenda topics from the members. So, for example, I would say, hey, team, let's get together on Monday, 9 o'clock for our weekly meeting. Drop me a quick reply and let me know what specifically do you want us to cover in that meeting? What are some key issues or hot topics that you want to make sure get on that agenda? So what that's doing is that's creating this two things. One, it's creating this feeling of responsibility. Like this meeting isn't happening to you. It's your meeting, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like, what do you want to talk about? And then it creates this ownership, this empowerment that, oh, wow, you know what? Like, wow, they actually care about what I think. And you've got to come prepared for that meeting. You're not an attendee, you're a participant at that meeting.
Right, right.
So you want to get feedback from people, agenda topics prior to the meeting, and then you cut it off at a certain time. Okay, it's Thursday, 5 p.m. I'm now sending out the final agenda for the meeting. Here are the 5 topics that we're going to cover within the 25 minutes. Here are some links to some background info. Don't come to the meeting asking me dumb questions. Anybody that says there's no dumb questions is just being nice. There are dumb questions. Okay, let's just keep it real, people. So never come to a meeting going, so what are we talking about? Or, oh, I'm not prepared to vote on that. Same thing at board meetings, everyone. This is why having a board portal is so important, for example. In a board portal, you put not only the agenda, you put the minutes of the last meetings, you put any background information in that portal so that people come prepared, having read the materials and ready to discuss and vote on an issue.
Right, right. That'll be so powerful, so powerful. All right. So, Tom, are there any particular like tools you recommend like for collecting member feedback?
Well, I think the easiest way to do that is surveys, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, and like online surveys, and there are scores of them out there. They're very easy to find. But what's really neat is some of them have. They're not just as boring. I mean, I don't want to say SurveyMonkey, but I just did. But some of them are just very straightforward. SurveyMonkey, for example. You've got Mentimeter, which is really great as well. There's a number of other ones out there that allow you to at least put some images, have some context, some backstory. You can change the visual look of these surveys as well to make them a little bit more engaging. Also, so you can get off of tech as well. And obviously, some of these things you can do online, you can do on your mobile device. But even getting off of tech, sometimes just picking up the phone and having a conversation with a member and just asking them some specific questions and then some open-ended questions. My gosh, you can really get a lot of information. And the great thing about using technology is it allows you to collect everything in one spot. So even things like Google Forms, Google Sheets are just so easy. So there are so many tools out there that people can use. We just need to pick one and start running.
Right, right. And on Member Launch, we kind of like track the usage of the different resources like that we have on the portal for associations. So you can actually get like a high level view of like which of the topics are being like used more and which are the boring ones not getting much traction. So that's another like high level view they can get like from our platform directly as well.
So for example, it starts to, if I can say, push certain topics to the top that are frequently used terms or that are most interesting to people. Is that what you mean?
No, as in like we have like a searchable resource library, right? So where like and like people search about like their topics and they kind of like maybe watch the webinar, watch a recording, or maybe like download like a guide, right? And we track like all the analytics, like which ones are being used the most, and how often the behavior, right? And then from that behavior, we can easily see like what search keywords are being like used within the portal.
Yes.
What are members searching for, right? So we're collecting a lot of data like by osmosis without even asking them, just by like watching their behavior.
No, I love that. And that's the wonderful thing about having one place where members can go, because that becomes your microsite. That becomes your Google, doesn't it? Right? That becomes your
Yeah.
association's Google, where you can then find out all of the user data. What videos are they watching? For how long? What keywords are they searching for? That's how you know in real time, getting the pulse of the members, what issues are most important to them. What articles are they reading? It's the same type of analytics when you send out an email, but obviously a bit
Yeah.
more in depth. You send out an email, and hopefully you're not just sending it through Outlook, but you're sending an email through a CRM or some email marketing platform that allows you to track open rates, click-through rates. You can see how many people are looking at what and whatnot, and tracking where on the site are they going to, what are the most popular pages on your site. So it's the same thing with a member portal as well. What are they consuming? Are they going to the resource section? Are they watching recordings of webinars? Are they listening to podcasts? Are they reading articles? Are they using, are they using the chat function or a community board where people can post questions and interact with people? Who are your most engaged members?
Right. Right.
Who are your least engaged members that have never even logged in? Guess what? They might not renew when you send out that
Yep.
invoice every year.
Yep.
So one of my pet peeves is when you've got, member services people that actually aren't servicing the members at all. What they're doing is they're kind of like salespeople that are just there for renewals. And then towards the end of the year, assuming you've got members who renew annually on the calendar year, not on the anniversary of when they join, but let's say every January is renewal time. So what do? They send out the invoice in November. They sit back, they wait for the renewals to come in, and they think they've done a good job. And then they go, well, wait a minute. What about attrition? Why did we have X number of people not renew? I don't know. So they're caught by surprise. How about 3 months, and I'm just picking a number, how about 3 months prior to those invoices going out for renewals, we actually look at this data, find out who are the least engaged members, and actually reach out to them. Pick up the phone, give them a call, say, hey, it's Tom here from so-and-so association. I just wanted to check in with you and see how things are going. I wanted to touch base and let you know that we've got a great member social coming up. Or we haven't seen you in a few months. How's everything going? How's your business? How's your health? How's life? How's family? Just check in with people. Hey, just wanted to let you know that we're launching a new initiative or a new program or a new service. Have you heard about it? I'd like to invite you to come down. Or I notice you haven't logged into the portal. Did you get your login details? Maybe check your spam folder. Maybe it got lost there. Can I walk you through it? Can I help you log in for the first time? Like, this is member services in my view.
Absolutely. And we tell our clients that member renewals don't happen at the end of the year. It happens during the year. So
Yes.
during the year, if you're not like keeping your members engaged, what, at the end of the year, nothing's going to happen. So if you're trying to like running towards the end of the year, it's too late.
It's way too late. And here's the thing. People in the association community really need to see themselves. Member services is sales. Member services is customer support. Member services is customer success. So what does that mean? Well, there are myriad associations out there that your members could join. If you think that you're the only game in town, you're wrong. You have competitors. They could either be direct competitors or indirect. Here's an example. I'm a member of the Professional Speakers Association, the International Coach Federation. There's an Association of Training and Development. There's the International Association of Facilitators. My goodness, that's 4 there's the Training and Development Association. So there's so many different organizations out there that seem to have a unique, different mandate that actually has overlap in membership. They have overlap in members. What does that mean? Towards the end of the year, I need to decide, as your members do, do I really need to be a member of all 4 of those organizations? Either for cost or time and sheer bandwidth and energy, you're probably going to scale back. And you're going to not renew with the associations that you've been least engaged with and that have been least engaged with you. Remember that.
Right. So Tom, speaking about training our team to kind of like maintain a customer focus, like how would you go about doing that? How would you train your team?
Well, I think a great first step. So I'm a big believer in learning. I love learning. I love training and development. Obviously, I also run a sales training company, so I run two businesses. So training is in my DNA. But it can be as in your one-on-ones, you have a coaching approach. So the leaders can coach their team and just ask them, what are you doing to engage the members? Just open-ended question, right? What are you doing to engage the members? What's working? Where are you getting stuck? How can I help you with that? So just take a coaching approach and just at least have that on the radar as far as what we should be doing. So that's number one. Number two, as a leader, start sharing some resources with your team around member recruitment, member retention, customer success, customer support. Make that part of your culture and your DNA that they're learning constantly about this. Get them to sign up for webinars. Get them to join sessions like this to learn more about this and to just have it be part of their daily routine. They could go to conferences, trade shows, events, webinars, seminars, live in-person training. You could buy them books on the topic, books or ebooks. There's no shortage of things that people can do to learn more about how do we serve our members better.
So for trainings like this, say a leader wants to send a team member to a training or a webinar, should it be a push or a pull? Should the staff find webinars to attend and let the manager know, or should it be a push model where the managers find it and give it to the team?
Well, I think it should be both. I don't think it's an either or thing in life. I think it's an and, not an or. So my job as a leader here at AMC and SoCo, my job is to uplift my team. That's my job, is to help them improve. So I'm always coming across resources that I think will be valuable to them. So I'll drop a link in Slack or something like that. Go, hey, check this out. Here's an article I read. Maybe you'll find it interesting or what have you. My job's to share. It's also to ask them, hey, if there's anything you see out there that you're interested in, let me know and let the team know. So you want to create this culture. It's just a culture of learning where everybody is constantly sharing with each other.
And I guess making that space on their calendar as well, because team members are super busy. With our team as well, we are super busy, right? If you set aside 1 or 2 hours of learning time every week for the team member, only then the learning will happen. We should be asking our team members to kind of do overtime for learning, for their own learning's sake.
Well, we shouldn't ask them to do it, but studies have shown that over 50% of e-learning, 50%, over half of e-learning is done outside of office hours.
Wow.
So what does that mean? People are listening to things on their phone on their commute to and from work. It's very normal, right? Or when they get home and after dinner, they put the kids to bed. Okay, now maybe I'll log on to something and finally listen to that podcast that I've always been wanting to listen to. So it's not considered work. It's just, I just want to learn. Which comes to my next point is you want people on your team that don't see learning as work. Learning is just part of who they are. They are curious people. They're naturally curious and they always want to improve themselves and develop and grow. So when you say, hey, here's something I saw that you might find interesting, they're like, oh, that's awesome. Thank you. As opposed to, oh, my boss is sending me on a course. It's the same situation, but it's received differently from those two different people. So who do you have on your team? People who are naturally curious that want to learn, or people that are kind of stuck in their old ways and they're reluctant to try something new?
Right. Okay. So now we have gone out and we have watched some webinars. We have learned something new. We have to put that in practice day to day as well, right? So whatever we have learned. So the team members actually have to have that freedom to implement new things as well then?
Well, for sure. They've got to be able to take risks, take some chances, to try some new things. To me, it's all about data. So we don't want to do things just based on intuition. What's the business case? Prove it. Show me. How many members are struggling with this? How many members are asking about that? How many members are currently involved in such and such? What's the data? Bring me back a business case or a user case. Show me what's going on. And then, all right, now let's try it. The proof is in the pudding. So once you've actually got something that's working, well, now you can scale it out. So if you can show me something that maybe you've done a beta test or a soft launch, or maybe you invited a small group of members to something and it was very well received and you got some great feedback, well, maybe that's something that you've just done as a pilot that you can now roll out on a larger scale. But keep trying. Like try a lot of things. As long as you're moving towards that big picture vision, that North Star, as long as you're moving in the right direction, again, the what and the why, the how can change. So be free to try different things and see where it goes.
And I think like doing that pilot is very important because you're containing the risk that way and you're learning in a relatively safe environment so that like when you actually go out like to a broader audience, you will do it like way better and you're minimizing the risk as well.
Well, absolutely. You're minimizing the risk. You're getting input directly from stakeholders. And again, you want to invite people that you know are going to be open to trying new things. And they're willing to give you feedback. They're willing to tell you what's working and what's not working. So quite often associations, there's always that person. There's always that member, right? That's on your case all the time, that's got all these ideas and complaints and concerns. Listen to that person, because that person really is not an anomaly. That person is a voice representing perhaps a sizable percentage of your members, but they happen to be the most vocal about it or the least eloquent in their delivery, okay? But they're certainly sharing a view that is probably not that uncommon. So we want to kind of filter it, take it with a grain of salt, but really dive deeper and not dismiss it just because of who the message came from. Don't dismiss, you may not like the messenger, but don't dismiss the message. Right? So the message is there. So obviously you can contain the risk, as you said, Farhad. And that allows you to kind of tweak and experiment and to actually have the members co-create this. It's not something that you're doing to them. It's something that you're all doing together for them.
Alrighty. So Tom, with that, I want to start taking some of the audience questions. We already have a long list here.
Wow.
So the first question is from Steve Broadwater. So Steve is asking, how do you reconcile customer-centric with member-centric when non-dues revenues are becoming increasingly important?
Well, let me just talk about non-dues revenue. So, I mean, non-dues revenue is something that I think every association must focus on. So in the same example that I just gave earlier on about, members having more choices now to them than ever before. They have so many options. So are we just reliant on member dues or other things, whether it's, sponsorship revenue, conferences, trade shows, exhibitor revenue, programs that might be delivered to the community at large? So there's a number of things that we need to be thinking about all the time. But again, those are your customers. So I think whether it's a member, whether it's a stakeholder, whether it's a literal customer or a consumer of some of the products or services that you offer, you've got to have that customer as a priority. And it really does come down to, who do we serve? What are we here for? And just make sure that you get the job done.
Right. And I guess like when partners and sponsors are coming to us, they're coming to us to solve a problem. They probably don't have access to the audience that we have. Right. So we need to find out like what problem like each stakeholder is coming to solve, and are we able to actually solve the problem for them for a reasonable fee or not?
Well, and there's a reason why they came to us.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to be very focused on our discovery questions, on our needs analysis, and really figure out, we talk about member needs surveys. Well, there's also sponsor needs surveys and stakeholder needs surveys, right? Because they're all our customers. They're all people that we serve in some capacity. So understanding what's most important to them, what their challenges are, what they hope to achieve, and how we can help them is critical. And then just ensure that there's no conflict of interest happening, and that at the end of the day, we're still moving in the direction that we need to as an organization. So again, once you've got that vision and that mission there, that doesn't change. Any opportunity that comes to you that could be non-dues revenue related or anything else, you always have to measure that against what are we hoping to achieve as an organization and what direction are we going. When you've got that, you won't lose focus.
Got it. So for the attendees who are joining us live, if you have any question, you can submit them on the Q&A tab, or you can raise your hand and come on mic as well. So feel free to raise your hand. Okay, I'll go to the next question. It's from Greg Snow. Greg is asking, what's the best way to engage members when they're 5,000 kilometers apart, spread across the globe?
Technology.
Yeah.
Right? Look, the whether it's 5,000 kilometers or 50 kilometers, right? If it's beyond driving distance, If it's beyond your ability to sit down with them face to face, well, now you're looking at technology. So how do we engage members? It's whether it's through emails, newsletters, webinars, surveys, events, conferences. There are so many things that we can do to engage people, and we've touched on that, and that's a great question. But really, if we've learned anything at all over the last 2 or 3 years, it's that we are able to stay connected and to engage people when we're 5,000 kilometers away. Okay. In fact, right now, Farhad, you and I are quite a distance away from each other right now, and we're able to make it happen through technology. So I would remove the spread across 5,000 kilometers from that question, and it just comes down to what are the best ways to engage members. Period.
Right. Yeah. And I guess like when it comes to a global organization like that, the time zones may not align. So if you're holding an event like middle of the day, maybe half your membership will be asleep at that point in time. So then what do you do? So that's when like a member portal or like there has to be something where you're recording the session so your members can actually like attend them on their time, right?
Yes.
So you're not holding them hostage. Like if they didn't make it at 3 a.m. in the morning their time, it's still there for them.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of things that people need to do. So I'm glad that you raised that. Number one, be aware of your members and where they are. So one of my biggest pet peeves is when you've got an organization that is so focused on their time zone that everything is in their HQ time zone, regardless of where their members are. Why not stagger it? Why not have it, hey, this month it's going to be Eastern time. This month it's going to be Atlantic time. This month it's going to be Mountain or it's going to be Pacific Standard Time, but you can shift the times of when the live sessions are so that you'll start engaging audiences in different geographic areas. So that's something that you can do. Play around with that, right? Obviously try to find something that's going to be a common time for everybody, but it's not always going to work. So you shift those times. Alternate it. One quarter, it's going to be this time zone focused, right? Let's say everybody in your membership base says, hey, mornings work best for me. Let's just say they go, mornings work best for me. Well, mornings are not going to be the same for every time zone.
Yeah.
So, hey, this quarter it's going to be morning Pacific. This one's going to be morning Mountain. This one's going to be morning blah, 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 blah. So you can shift that. So it's still morning, but just shift the time zone for people. And then also, of course, with technology, hit the record button. So simple. You hit the record button and then boom, just upload that recording to your portal that members can access at any time. And then you always want to send out an email following that meeting and let them know, hey, in case you missed it, the recording can be accessed right here in the member portal. Click here to access it right now. That way they can view it anywhere, anytime.
All right. So next question is from Anne Doro. Anne is asking, how do you discover what members want even if they haven't expressed the need?
So we have to get really good at asking questions. So in the same way as, let's say, you may not know what's wrong with you physically, but you feel like you could be better. So what do? You go to the doctor for a health check. So that you don't have to know everything about your condition or what you want, but the doctor has a list of questions that they would ask to do an initial assessment. Same thing, you hear a knocking in your car, you take it to the mechanic and they do their 99-point inspection. So they have a checklist. Our job in member services is to have a checklist of questions that we can ask. So I would advise everyone here, I'd recommend that you all come up with a list of questions you could ask your members to at least get the pulse of what's going on and to kind of figure out, hey, what are the biggest challenges they're facing? What are some of the goals that they have? What do they want to achieve? What are they working towards? What's the number one thing that they want to get done or accomplish in the next quarter or by the end of the year, for example? Just ask these open-ended questions and see where it goes. But we've got to have these conversations with people because, again, sometimes people don't know what they don't know. But by asking the right questions, we can engage in conversation and we can start to figure some things out.
And I guess sometimes like when we're asking that question, it may not be about our association at all. Like when we talk to members, we can ask them, what are your professional goals for the next 1 year? What are your personal goals for the next 1 year? Like in their own life, what are their professional goals? And then like tie that back into what can the association do to kind of support that goal.
We need to stop asking, what do you want our association to do next year? We've got to stop thinking like that. Or like, what can we do to support you? It's like, I don't know. I don't know what you can do to support me because I don't know what you do. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know. But if you ask me, Tom, what are your, so let's say it's a business association, and say, so Tom, what's the number one challenge you're facing in your business right now? Oh, wow. Okay. I might say it's recruitment of staff. It's labor issues. It's finding great staff. That's my biggest challenge right now is building my team and getting great people. So that's not, but I don't know if my association can do that, but maybe they can. Maybe they have a program or an initiative. Maybe they have a job portal on the website that I don't know about. You see what I'm saying? Maybe they can invite a great speaker to come in to talk on that issue or direct me to a resource. So you don't know what you don't know, but you've got to ask these open-ended questions about what are the biggest issues you're facing right now, and let's see if we can help you or not.
Wonderful. And I think Anne is here live. So Anne, thank you for that question.
Hey, thanks, Anne.
All right. The next question is from Adrian Williams. Adrian is asking, how does the membership team communicate to staff that membership is everyone's responsibility and not just the membership teams?
Look, when we're talking about, and I'll just be a bit cheeky, no members, no revenue, no job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really as simple as that. We exist because of the members. We exist because of the members. If there are no members, and the board typically are members, so no members, no board, no bosses, there's no organization, there's nothing. So we're here to serve the members. That's what it's all about. So look, if you need to have Post-it notes on your computer, if you need to have banners and signs around the office saying the customer first, I mean, whatever you need to do to create this culture of customer centricity, you've got to do that. How do you communicate it? Maybe at an all hands meeting or a staff meeting with the whole team. Remind everybody of the importance of membership. Maybe at every meeting, you talk about how many members do we have right now? Has that gone up or gone down? Why is that? Allow each team to talk about some of the key initiatives that they're working on, different departments, different teams, but you make sure that membership has a seat at that table and a prominent one at that. And they're talking about, what is the state of the association?
Right.
Our numbers going up, our numbers going down. Here's what members are asking for. And say for each and every one of you at this table with your programs and initiatives, are you taking what I'm sharing into account? Are you thinking about that? Come up with avatars. So a buyer persona, right? An avatar of your member. Our average member is this: the demographic profile, the psychographic profile, right? So demographic would be age, gender, race, geographic location, income. These are examples of demographics. Psychographics are behaviors, thoughts. What's on their mind right now? What are they concerned about? What are they trying to achieve? Why did they join the association? What are they looking for in a society? These are all part of the psychographics. What are they reading now? What are they, all these things. You need to have a buyer persona, and from there, you start developing your programs tailored to address the needs of that person.
Right. And I guess whenever there's a discussion about any new program or anything else in any meeting, we can also ask the team member, okay, how does that help our members? What are our members getting out of it? I think that is a quick reminder that we exist for the members. So if it is not helping the members or the staff, then maybe this program shouldn't be there.
Hey, any program that you're thinking of launching, run it by the member team. Just pitch it to them and say, what do you think? What do you think? And then this is how you can work together, right? This is how you can work together and say, hey, you know what? Why don't we get a small focus group of members as that safe, risk-free group to kind of test this on?
Right. I think Anne just posted a message saying she wants you at a keynote. So I think we'll let you connect offline. And we'll make sure to connect you to Tom. We'll do that for sure.
Awesome.
All right, good. So the last question for today is from Susie Pilon. Susie is asking, how can directors improve their participation in the organization?
You just started asking questions. Start asking questions. Be more curious about the members. Be curious about what's going on. Revisit your strategic planning session notes. Take a look at member needs surveys, right? Look through, what did the members tell us? What have we done? Have we actually delivered on that? When's the last time we communicated to our members about what we're doing here? One of the reasons why people don't renew is because they don't think that their associations are actually doing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Remind the members of actually what you've done and done for them. Remind them. Communicate. We under-communicate so much. It's not even funny.
Yeah, and like I think in one of the sessions, I don't know if it was a podcast or a webinar, there was an audience question how do we know we're sending too many emails to our members and we're not like pissing them off, right? So my response
How do you
to that
know?
was like,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, so my response to that like in the session was that, you know what, like keep sending emails as many as you can. You're probably under communicating. No matter how many you're sending, I think it's not enough, right? So until the member says stop, keep sending.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you know? Take a look at your unsubscribe rate.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Your unsubscribe rate goes down. Your open rate goes down. Your click-through rate. Just monitor your numbers. Some people might even respond to you and say, "It's a bit much." Okay.
Yeah.
Now look, I know that, and you probably know better than I do, Farhad. But I know that I've seen data that suggests that people don't even unsubscribe at the rate that they really should. They just don't.
Yeah.
Because there's this FOMO, there's this fear of missing out that, and I know because I'm a consumer. I'm a consumer of all sorts of things. And what I tend to do is I subscribe to a lot of stuff and I just put it in folders. And I'll get to it when I get to it. But I don't want to unsubscribe because I don't want to miss out on this stuff. And I don't care if they keep sending me a lot of emails. A lot of it is good. So if you're delivering value, keep it up. And your customers, your market will let you know when enough is enough. So if you're not hearing from a lot of people saying, "Hey, can you go easy on the frequency of emails?" If you're not hearing that, don't worry about it. You're probably under communicating as it is. And look, when we talk about that, it's also social media. So we haven't even talked about social. We haven't even talked about LinkedIn at all here today. So you can do LinkedIn surveys like these polls. You should be doing that on a regular basis to poll not just your members but stakeholders in your community at large, the people that follow your page on LinkedIn. You could be using that polls, and then the following day or the following week, depending on how long you run that poll, do a post saying, "Hey, thanks everyone. We ran a poll last week and we asked you these questions, and here's what 78% of you said. We're fascinated by that, and we're going to think about launching this program. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts on that?" You start a conversation based on the responses to poll questions. So there, you've just solved your social media content problem and your member engagement problem at the same time.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Tom, you and I can do this all day, but we're running out of time.
All day.
So what will be your key takeaway for the audience today?
I think the key takeaway will be a call to action, really. And the call to action, what I want you all to do next is to ask yourselves, why should anybody renew next year? And what am I going to do to ensure that they do? Start with that, and the rest will follow.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Tom, for our audience, can you share a personal habit that has contributed the most to your success?
Wow. A personal habit that has contributed most to my success. I would have to say it's not just a habit, it's a trait. And I would say that my number one trait has always been curiosity. I'm genuinely curious about things. I ask a lot of questions. I challenge the status quo. I want to know why. Asking that question why has probably been one of the most powerful tools that I've had in my repertoire, in my toolkit. And I would say that just a natural curiosity about the way things work, why people do what they do, why people renew, why they don't renew. That curiosity has been a real asset for me in life and also in business.
All right. So Tom, how can people get in touch with you if they have any more questions?
Well, I think I just dropped an email address in the chat, kind of tongue-in-cheek for Anne if she wants to engage me for any keynotes. But what I'll also do is I'll just drop my LinkedIn link in the chat, and people can just feel free to connect with me there. That's probably the easiest the easiest way. I'm very responsive and very active on LinkedIn, so I would love to hear from anyone who wants to have a chat about all things associations or anything at all.
And you're open to receiving cold emails, cold messages, I guess?
Yes. Now, running a sales training company, I will be scrutinizing those cold emails, and I'll probably give you feedback on it.
Wonderful. Tom, thank you so much for being with us today. It was wonderful.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. It was a really great conversation, so I really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty. That was the episode with Tom Abbott. Tom actually gave us a lot of gold nuggets and a lot to think about. And like I always say for all of our episodes, you come to the events and you kind of walk away with a lot of information. I would invite you kind of find one thing that you can take action on immediately from this episode, anything that you can take home and then actually start working on it immediately. If you can find that one thing, that'll be very powerful. Taking action is very, very important. And once again, if you want to grow your association membership, our product Member Lounge is one of the quickest ways for you to build an engaging member portal for your membership. You can find it at memberlounge.ca. You can book a free demo and get in touch with us. So that is it for today. Thank you so much for being with us. We wish you all the best with your membership journey. We will see you on our next episode. Bye for now.